Hi, Dave Smith with Officer.com, and I want to do a quick safety tip today, but before I get into the tip, I want to talk for a moment about one of my original classics in officer safety. This is a book I got back in the 1970s as a young officer by a guy named Pierce Brooks. Now, a lot of you may not have heard of him, but he's a legendary investigator, later became a chief. When he was in Los Angeles Police Department, he investigated a lot of officer fatalities, officer homicides. And this book came out about 75, and I remember getting it as a young officer and reading it, and this is the first time I ever heard of the deadly errors, the 10 deadly errors. That's how long they've been around. Now, I've been teaching officer safety since 1980, and this has always been one of the touchstones for me, these original 10 errors. And you hear about them a lot of different ways, and a lot of people have renamed them their way or another, but they are still the same, the valid examination of risk in our profession by a professional. Now, I want to start with the very first one, and I think it's really important you think about this, because this is one that often gets neglected. It's failure to maintain proficiency and care of weapons, vehicle, and equipment. Now, a lot of people then just want to talk about maintenance, talk about care, prevention of breakdowns in their vehicles, in their firearms, their handcuffs. The thing is that what he really talks about also is proficiency in your mind and your motor skills. And that often gets neglected here, and I want you to think about it. All skills are perishable. You've got to do practice. And I know a lot of you say, well, look, shooting a firearm is like riding a bike. No, it's not. In fact, if you haven't ridden a bike for years, you'd be shocked how bad you can be for the first 5 minutes. Now, if you're suddenly in a life and death confrontation, if you've maintained that weapon, that's critical. But have you also maintained your skills and proficiencies? So take this seriously. Maintenance is critical in all things in our lives, because unlike many professions, we don't just face risks day to day. We have people actively trying to hurt us. I know you see all these shows about people at risk fishing in the Arctic Circle or cutting down trees. Well, your danger is just as great. You're in a high-speed vehicle very often in Code 3 with lights and sirens where citizens are oblivious, citizens panic, and other officers going Code 3 or lights and sirens can't hear yours. So we've got that kind of danger. Plus, we're going somewhere where someone may want to hurt us. So that's why we've got to be prepared all the time. Maintain your equipment and maintain your skills. Maintenance is a very critical issue. That's why it was #1 in this legendary book way back in the 70s. So keep this in mind, and I want you to practice your skills. Find out when your next practices, rehearsals, your training, whatever you want to call it, because it's all the same. Maintenance is critical. And don't say, my agency doesn't have money for it. My chief doesn't care. My director doesn't care. My sheriff doesn't care. Doesn't matter. They're not the ones responsible for your safety. You are. So whether your agency has any retraining coming up, I don't care. Get it yourself. Be responsible. That's another critical element in officer safety. You control your own life, your own safety. All right, until next time, take care of yourself. For Officer.com, Dave Smith.